Welcome to this Catholic Bioethics Moment. I'm Dr. Bridget Campion, and I'm talking to Dr. Moira McQueen about conscientious objection. Moira, what is meant by the term conscientious objection?
Conscientious objection usually happens in situations in society when I am being asked to do something that I think is wrong, or in some way to participate. So it very often involves legalities, so laws perhaps, or policies based on society's laws that are asking me to do something that I just consider to be morally wrong and I cannot do. I just cannot do specific actions. So it will very often apply in certain professions, that kind of thing. And so when I find myself in that situation, I very often have to find ways of either making arrangements with employers, say, so that I would not be asked to do specific procedures, for example. And because of my objection, my moral objection. And in Canada at the minute, that right to conscientious objection, because it is a right, is laid out under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And so at the minute, most people find that in some situations, employers, well, they should be mindful because of the Charter, even if they don't really see why I'm objecting morally, but my professional work should still be protected.
Okay, so when we're talking about conscientious objection, then we're talking about a deep moral inability to perform certain acts, for instance, to follow particular laws. There's a sense in which we must make a moral refusal. And I'm wondering, what examples can you think of conscientious objection, for instance?
Yeah, well, they are mainly in bioethics. There are more, but the ones that I'm more familiar with would be the ones in bioethics because they come up fairly frequently. And so the whole question of abortion and participation in performing procedures is, and always has been, since it became legalized anyway, a problem for people who are against doing those procedures. The new laws in Canada with euthanasia and physician-assisted suicide also introduce problems for people who think that those procedures are wrong and therefore shouldn't be part of their daily duties as they see it, and that they do in fact refuse to do it, not because they want to refuse, but because they cannot do it, your word, inability to do it, because it goes against their whole moral stance. I did say, though, that within our current Charter of Rights, people who refuse to do some actions professionally because of a moral stance, not a physical or capability problem, but a moral inability, are supposed to be protected.
And conscientious objection certainly may mean a great deal to Catholics because of some of these procedures, but it isn't solely about Catholics, is it? I mean, I was thinking pacifists, for instance, might refuse morally to fight in a war, for instance. So this is something that is important for all persons. Is that fair to say?
Oh, very fair. It really has nothing to do with Catholicism in that sense. There may just be more procedures that Catholics might refuse to be involved in. But as you say, I mean, there are many other areas, because since everybody has a conscience, not everybody is wanting to be involved in the same thing. So, for example, your suggestion there of people in being involved in wars, and very often they've been helped to not be involved directly, say as a soldier, part of the military, but perhaps as a medical officer or aide, they're accommodated in that way, so they're still involved, but not in that sort of direct level.
So we know that the law supports conscientious objection. What about the Catholic Church? What are the Catholic Church teachings around conscientious objection?
Well, conscientious objection is allowed at a certain level because the Church is so concerned about protecting conscience when it's well founded, and is also so concerned too, as the law is as well, about protecting the individual. The whole question of inviolability of conscience comes into play here, and therefore the Church really has to support people who make good conscience decisions.
Thank you so much.